The galaxy had many worlds, and each world had its own dangers. Some had burning skies where storms of fire raged. Some had oceans filled with teeth and shadows. Some had deserts so wide that even light seemed to vanish in them. But none of those dangers were as famous as the creature locked inside the grand arena. The arena was not just a place of games. It was a monument of fear, built on the trade world of Calfrex. It stretched like a giant stone bowl, walls higher than towers, seats rising to the sky. Every day, thousands of beings filled those seats, and millions more watched from across the stars. They did not come for races or sport. They came for blood. At the center of the arena lived a monster. No one knew what world it came from. Some said it was caught in the burning jungles of Carrick. Others whispered it was built in a lab, a weapon that had escaped its makers. Its true origin was hidden, but its power was known everywhere. It stood as tall as 3 warriors stacked together. Its muscles thick as stone, its claws long enough to cut through armor. Its mouth was a cave of blades, its roar a storm that shook the walls. They called it the Arena Monster, though some gave it darker names. Death Eater, Flesh Ripper, the End. The rules were simple. Any warrior, from any species, could step forward and fight the beast. If they won, they would take glory, wealth, and a place in history. If they lost, their bones would join the sand of the arena floor. And so far, everyone had lost. 847 warriors had entered, soldiers in plated armor, hunters from savage moons, champions blessed by gods, beasts made of steel and fire. None had lasted more than a few minutes. Some were torn apart instantly. Some tried to flee and were cut down in shame. A few fought bravely, their blood soaking the ground before the final strike. But all ended the same. 847 bodies. 847 failures. The monster never tired. It never feared. It never lost. To the people of the galaxy, the number was like a curse. 847 was repeated in whispers across markets, ships, and council halls. It was carved into walls, printed in news streams, and told as a warning to children. Do not think yourself stronger, parents would say. Even the arena monster has not been beaten. Warriors told each other the number as a dare. Scholars spoke of it as proof that some battles could not be won. The number became a shadow that stretched across worlds. The monster itself did not care about numbers. It waited in its stone prison, pacing the floor, its claws carving grooves into the walls. It had no chains, for chains could not hold it. It had no guards, for guards would not live long near it. It needed nothing but time, and time was always given. Sooner or later, another challenger would come. Sooner or later, more blood would fall. The arena monster would feed, and the crowd would cheer. The crowd, they were the second half of this story. Without them, the arena would be nothing but stone. With them, it became a furnace of noise and light. Aliens of every kind filled the seats, scaled, furred, feathered, or smooth-skinned. They waved flags, shouted bets, and screamed names of warriors they had never met. They loved the arena monster, even as they feared it. It gave them a show no stage, no singer, no race could match. To see a living legend kill again and again was worth any price. But under that joy was something darker. Each time a warrior stepped into the sand, there was hope, a small spark. Maybe this one will win. Maybe this time the beast will fall. And each time, the spark was crushed. Some cheered the monster for its endless victory. Others wept for the fallen. But no one could look away. The arena was a trap not just for fighters, but for every heart that watched. It fed on hope, then shattered it. The Galactic Council itself tried to stop it once. They called it cruel, a stain on their name. But Calfrex was rich, and its rulers laughed. They said the arena kept order. It gave warriors a place to test themselves. It gave the crowd a reason to gather, and it gave them power. The council tried again, but when even their finest champions were slain, their voices grew silent. The arena remained. The monster remained. And the number of dead kept growing. On the day of the 848th match, the seats were packed. The air shimmered with heat and tension. Flags waved, drums pounded, and the announcers shouted the tale once more. 847 warriors have fallen. 847 have fed the beast. Who dares next? The people leaned forward, eager to see who would face the legend. And somewhere, hidden among the roaring crowd, a whisper rose. A name, a word that spread like fire. A human The arena floor trembled. Dust rained down from the upper walls as the monster's roar rolled across the stadium. Its body filled the space like a moving mountain, its claws carving scars into sand. For centuries, every challenger had broken beneath those claws. Every battle had ended in screams. But not this time. The human stood tall, calm, almost casual. One hand rested at his side. The other lightly touched the fur of the small creature beside him. The cat sat still, its tail flicking once, its eyes glowing faintly green in the burning light. The crowd didn't know what to make of it. "Why doesn't he run?" someone hissed. "He hasn't even lifted a weapon," another shouted. "He's frozen. He's mad. He's already dead." The arena monster roared again, louder. Its mouth opened wide, teeth gleaming with saliva, each tooth the size of a blade. Then it struck. A claw swept forward, faster than stone falling, strong enough to split metal. The crowd rose to its feet, expecting to see blood explode across the sand. But the human moved, just a breath of motion, a sidestep so simple it looked almost lazy. The claw tore through empty air, smashing into the earth. Sand and stone burst skyward. The human remained untouched. The cat didn't even flinch. Gasps filled the arena. Not cheers, not laughter, gasps. The human had dodged what no warrior ever had. The monster growled, confused. Its yellow eyes narrowed, fixed on the strange prey. It swung again, faster, harder, claws cutting arcs of death through the air. The human moved again, ducking, weaving, stepping aside with precision so perfect it seemed like a dance. Not once did he raise his hands to block. Not once did he stumble. The crowd was no longer mocking. Their voices had turned sharp with awe and unease. Impossible. No one moves like that. Is this training or magic? The announcer's voice cracked as he tried to keep pace. The human, he survives the first assault. Unarmed, unharmed. What is this? What are we watching? The monster grew furious. Its roar shook the ground. Its swings carved trenches in stone. Dust and smoke filled the arena, cloaking man and beast in a storm of shadows. Only flashes of motion cut through the cloud, claws slashing, a figure stepping aside at the last instant, always just out of reach. And then, through the smoke, a sound carried, soft, gentle, a purr. The cat. The little creature sat at the human's feet, unbothered by the chaos. Its fur rippled with each shockwave, its eyes never leaving the monster. It was as if the world's most violent storm could not touch it. The monster froze, just for a moment, but enough for the crowd to see. Its claws lowered, its roar stuttered, its massive head tilted toward the cat. The human's lips curved into the faintest smile. He spoke, not loud, not for the crowd, but for the beast alone. "Do you feel it?" The words vanished into the wind, but the monster's reaction told the truth. It did feel something. Something alien, something primal. Its chest heaved. Its eyes darted between the man and the small animal. For the first time in its bloody history, the arena monster looked uncertain. The silence in the stands was sharp as a blade. No one breathed. No one moved. Thousands of eyes watched, their disbelief heavy in the air. The human reached down and stroked the cat's back. The creature's tail flicked again, its gaze like twin knives of green light. The monster stepped backward. The sound of its footfall echoed through the arena like thunder. One step backward. The audience erupted. Not with cheers, not with roars, but with a storm of voices all tangled together. "It's afraid. The monster's afraid. No, that's impossible." The announcer's voice was shaking now, barely able to rise above the storm of confusion. Behold, for the first time, the arena monster hesitates. The beast tried to recover. It roared, louder than before, forcing the ground to quake. It slammed its claws against the walls, stone breaking under its fury. But still, its eyes kept flicking toward the cat. The roar sounded less like rage now, more like denial. The human's calm never wavered. He took a single step forward, guiding the cat with him. Together they advanced, slow, deliberate, into the dust and thunder. The crowd went wild, half in awe, half in fear. Some screamed that it was a trick. Others swore it was sorcery. A few leaned forward with wide, unblinking eyes, whispering to themselves, This is something new." At the center of the arena, predator faced predator. The larger one shook with fury. The smaller one purred in silence. The human raised his eyes to the beast, voice steady. You fought warriors, soldiers, machines. But today, you meet something different. Today, you meet a cat. The monster froze, chest heaving, claws quivering. The crowd roared louder than ever, but the human's voice carried through it all, sharp as steel. The battle was no longer about survival. It was about fear. And for the first time, the arena monster was not the one in control. The arena had never been so quiet. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, but silence hung like a heavy cloak. The monster stood tall, claws raised, its chest heaving with thunderous breaths. Across from it, the human stood still, one hand on the cat at his side. Every eye was locked on the sand. Every heart pounded. No one understood what they were watching. Then, with a scream that shook the walls, the arena monster lunged. It was faster than lightning. Its muscles coiled and released with terrifying power. Dust exploded beneath its charge. The ground trembled with each pounding step. Its claws cut through the air like falling towers. This was the strike that had ended 847 lives. This was the strike that made legends. The human didn't move. Not at first. He waited until the last breath, until the claws were inches from his chest. Then one step, a simple pivot of the foot. The strike missed. The claws slammed into stone. The shock ripped cracks through the arena floor. A cloud of dust rose, blinding, choking, spinning into sky. The audience screamed in disbelief. The human stood untouched, his figure sharp against the storm. The cat still sat at his side, its fur dusted with grit, its eyes calm and sharp. The monster roared in fury. Its head snapped down, jaws wide, teeth dripping. It bit with the force of a collapsing mountain. The human rolled aside, sand spraying. The teeth clamped into earth, ripping out chunks of stone. Again, no blood, no scream, only silence, followed by the steady rhythm of footsteps. The crowd went wild, half cheering, half crying out in fear. Impossible. He should be dead. No one escapes twice. The announcer's voice boomed, but Erie could not hide the shake in his tone. The human dodges again. This is not chance. This is skill. The monster whipped its claws again, a blur of steel and fury. Strike after strike carved the arena, breaking stone, tearing walls, leaving trenches of ruin. The sand turned into smoke, the air into chaos. The storm swallowed human and beast alike. And then something changed. Through the smoke, two glowing eyes appeared. Small, green, watching. The cat, it had moved forward, no longer pressed against the human's leg. It sat calmly on the broken sand, tail curling, eyes burning through the dust. The purr returned, low but sharp, a sound so strange it seemed to echo inside every skull in the arena. The monster stopped. Its claws froze mid-swing. Its roar caught in its throat. For a single moment, silence struck again. The human's voice broke the quiet. Calm, cold. You feel it, don't you? The monster's chest rose and fell in heavy gasps. Its eyes flickered from the cat to the man. Rage battled with something older, deeper, fear. The audience leaned forward, eyes wide, unable to believe. The monster roared, louder than before, forcing its body forward. It struck again, a desperate slash meant to end hesitation. The claws tore across the sand where the cat sat, but the cat was gone. A blink of motion, too fast for eyes to follow. The claws hit empty air. The crowd screamed. The monster stumbled, confused. The human smiled faintly, his hand reaching down. The cat was there again, sitting at his feet, calm as ever. The monster's body shook. For the first time in its endless reign, it looked small. The announcer tried to find words, his voice cracking. The beast cannot touch it. The human, the creature, what are we seeing? The human lifted his gaze, his voice carrying over the thunder of confusion. You've never fought something like this. You've crushed soldiers. You've torn apart machines. But this, he gestured to the small creature at his side. This is a predator you don't understand. The cat hissed, a sharp, cutting sound, simple and primal. The arena monster staggered back, one massive step, then another. Its claws trembled. Its roar broke into a whine. The audience exploded. Some laughed in disbelief. Some cried out in horror. Some clapped, desperate to release the tension boiling inside them. Afraid. It's afraid. No. Impossible. The arena monster does not fear. It's real. I can see it in its eyes. The human took a single step forward. The cat patted with him, tail flicking in command. Together, they advanced. The monster tried to roar again, but the sound cracked. Its body shook. It swung one final desperate strike. The human did not move. The cat leapt. Not far, not high, just enough. It landed in the dust in front of the monster, its back arched, fur raised, teeth bared. A sound ripped from its throat, not loud, not big, but sharp as lightning. The arena monster froze. Its entire body locked, like a machine that had suddenly broken. Its eyes widened, its breathing shallow. And then, the impossible happened. The arena monster stepped back. One step, then another. The beast that had killed 847 challengers was retreating. The crowd erupted, a storm of disbelief and awe. Flags tore in frantic hands. Voices screamed in madness. Nothing like this had ever happened. The announcer's voice rang out, his words trembling but clear. For the first time in history, the arena monster yields ground. And at the center of the storm, the human reached down, stroked his cat's fur, and whispered, "Good girl." The arena had seen slaughter. It had seen blood, fire, broken bodies, and desperate warriors screaming their last breaths. But never had it seen this. A monster, the undefeated titan of Calthrex, was stepping backward. The crowd didn't know how to react. Some screamed in disbelief. Some shouted in anger. Others sat frozen, their voices stolen by shock. For centuries, the arena monster had been the certainty, the one truth of this blood-soaked stage. It never feared. It never faltered. It never yielded. And yet here it was, eyes wide, claws trembling, retreating before something no taller than a warrior's knee. A cat. The human stood calmly in the dust storm, his hand resting lightly on the creature's back. His eyes stayed locked on the monster, but his voice was steady, carrying through the chaos. You thought you were the predator. You thought nothing could touch you. But you were wrong. You've never seen this before. The cat sat, tail curling, eyes glowing green under the harsh light. Its gaze locked with the beast, and the beast could not look away. Its chest heaved, its breath ragged, as if each exhale carried something heavy, something it did not want to admit. Fear. The audience murmured. The sound grew into waves of voices crashing against each other. It's a trick. No, it's real. Look at its eyes. The monster doesn't bow. It doesn't bow to anything. The announcer's voice trembled above the storm. The arena monster hesitates. It cannot advance. What is this earth creature? What is this cat? The word spread like fire. Cat. Aliens whispered with awe, with disbelief, with terror. It sounded strange in their mouths, but the meaning was clear. The thing was small, but it was not weak. It was a predator so old, so pure, that even the arena monster could feel its shadow. The monster tried to roar again, to break the fear gnawing at its chest. The sound came out, but it cracked, fractured, empty of power. It swung its claws once more, desperate to reassert its dominance. The air itself split with the strike. The human didn't move. The cat moved for him. It leapt not far, not high, but with a speed so sharp the eye could barely follow. It landed inches from the claws, back arched, for bristling, mouth open in a hiss that tore through the arena louder than the monster's roar. The sound was not large, not deep, not thunderous, but it carried weight. A raw, ancient command buried deep in the bones of every predator and prey across the galaxy. The command was simple. Submit. The monster froze. Its swing halted midair. Its body shook. Its knees buckled. The audience erupted. Some shouted in rage, others in awe. Some covered their faces, as if afraid to look upon a power that had no name in their tongues. The announcer's words shook as they tumbled out. The arena monster, it cannot fight. It fears the creature. The earth beast holds it still. The human stepped forward, slow, deliberate, each stride echoing louder than thunder. The cat padded beside him, its tail swishing in silent authority. Together they advanced, and with each step, the monster fell back. Claws that had shredded armies now scraped against stone in retreat. Eyes that glared with endless hunger now flicked in panic, searching for escape. The beast's chest heaved with the sound of an animal cornered, not dominant. The crowd couldn't process it. For generations, they had come to watch the slaughter. Now, they were witnessing something greater than slaughter. They were witnessing submission. The human stopped only a few feet away. Dust swirled around him. His voice cut through the madness, steady as iron. On Earth, he said, this is just a pet. Nothing special. Small. Harmless, you'd think. But predators know predators. Even the greatest beasts bow when they feel the truth. The cat sat again, curling its tail neatly, and blinked. Slow. Calm. That simple blink, lazy and disinterested, struck harder than any weapon. The monster whimpered. A sound the arena had never heard. It lowered its head. The silence that followed was absolute. Not a voice, not a breath. Tens of thousands of aliens sat frozen, their minds refusing to believe. The arena monster, undefeated in 847 battles, had bowed its head to a creature small enough to fit in a warrior's arms. The announcer stuttered, unable to form words. It the monster yields? This cannot be, but we see it. We all see it. The human crouched, stroking the cat's back, his smile calm but sharp. Good girl, he whispered. The purr rose again, steady, confident, like a drumbeat of victory. The monster stumbled backward, collapsing against a far wall. Its claws dug trenches in the stone, not in attack but in fear. Its massive chest heaved, and its eyes never left cats. It had fought machines, gods, and armies. None had broken it. Yet one small earth predator had undone its legend. The crowd finally broke. Screams of disbelief tore through the arena. Some shouted that the match was unfair. Others cried out in worship. A few dropped to their knees, overwhelmed by what they had witnessed. The sound of the word cat rolled through the stands again and again, echoing like thunder. The announcer finally found his voice. His words rang out, sharp and trembling. Never in the history of the arena, never in all its blood-soaked ages. The beast that ended 847 warriors now bows before an earth creature. The human, unarmed, has broken the unbreakable. The noise shook the world. Flags tore in frantic hands. Drums boomed. Voices cracked. Alien throats screamed until blood touched their lips. The arena had become a storm of madness. And at the center of it all, the human stood calm, hand resting on the cat's back, as if this chaos was nothing new. He looked up at the monster one final time. His words were steady, cold, and carried like a blade. This is the smallest hunter of my world, the weakest of our predators. Remember that. The arena monster whimpered again, lowering its head deeper, its massive frame trembling under the weight of unseen chains. The crowd would never forget. For the first time in history, the arena did not feel like a place of slaughter. It felt like a place of revelation. The legend of the beast had ended. The legend of the human and the cat had begun. The arena was no longer just an arena. For centuries, it had been a theater of slaughter, a shrine to the undefeatable monster. But now, silence weighed on every corner of the stadium. Tens of thousands of alien voices had been stolen by a single truth. The monster had bowed. The creature that killed 847 warriors. The beast that no blade, no cannon, no champion had stopped, was crouched against the wall, trembling. Its head was lowered. Its eyes never left the tiny earth animal that sat in the dust, calmly licking its paw. The word cat echoed across the stands, whispered by throats of every shape and tongue. It had no translation, no meaning in their languages, but they spoke it anyway. The word spread like fire, carrying awe, fear, and disbelief. And at the center of it all stood the human. He placed his hand lightly on the cat's back, stroking once, twice. The creature purred, a sound so soft it was almost lost under the weight of the stadium. Almost, but not quite. Somehow, every ear caught it. It rang like a warning bell in the bones of predators and prey alike. The announcer's voice finally returned, cracked and trembling. People of the galaxy, behold, the arena monster, the beast that ended 847 lives, has bowed before the human and his earth creature. The crowd erupted. Some screamed in rage. Unfair. This is a trick. Others fell into cheers, worshiping the spectacle. Some pressed their hands to their faces. Unable to look, others shouted bets for or against a human, as if chaos itself were currency. Calthrex nobles in their jeweled seats shouted at each other, spitting arguments like venom. "Shut this down," one demanded. "This cannot stand." Another sneered. "Do you not see? The crowd is wild. This brings profit more than ever." The Galactic Council representatives sat in stunned silence. They had long hated the arena, long called it a stain upon the stars. Now their eyes flicked toward each other, whispering calculations. If one human and one cat could break the unbreakable, then humanity was not weak. Humanity was dangerous. But all of that, money, politics, fear, was noise. What mattered was a monster. It pushed itself up, slowly, trembling like a wounded animal. Its claws scraped against the stone. Its chest heaved, pulling ragged breaths. Its eyes glowed with something new. Not hunger, not fury, but confusion. It roared, but the sound was broken, stripped of its power. The cat yawned. A small, simple sound. But the monster froze again. The human straightened, his voice carrying calm authority. "You don't understand what you're facing. To you, I'm prey. Weak. Fragile. But I didn't come alone. On Earth, this creature hunts in silence. It kills without mercy. Even kings of the jungle bow before it. And this is just one." The monster lowered its head again, almost involuntarily. The crowd gasped. Even those who had mocked moments earlier now leaned forward, their disbelief breaking under the weight of what they were seeing. The arena monster was not fighting. It was yielding. The announcer tried to fill the silence with words, his tone almost desperate. This is no trick, no illusion. The beast cannot strike. The human commanded through fear. The human's gaze swept the crowd. His voice grew louder, sharper, aimed not at the monster, but at the galaxy itself. You built this place to prove strength, to show that no warrior could beat this beast. And you were right. No warrior could. No soldier. No machine. But you forgot something. Strength isn't only in size or in claws or in weapons. He knelt beside the cat. The little creature blinked, slow and calm, tail flicking once like punctuation. Sometimes, he said, strength is in what you don't see, what you don't expect. The smallest hunter, the quietest predator, can bend even monsters to its will. The crowd rippled with unease. Some cheered, swept away by the sheer audacity of his words. Others hissed, frightened by the idea that the universe they knew had just cracked. The nobles shouted louder. "End this now," one cried, before they believe it. But it was already too late. The crowd did believe. Down in the stands, aliens of every kind whispered to each other, their voices quick and feverish. If this is their pet, what else do humans keep? What predators must their world hold? If the weakest can do this, what are the strongest like? The monster growled, low and broken, as if to reclaim some shred of dignity. It stomped once, the ground trembling. Dust shook loose from the high walls. The crowd roared back, desperate for violence. The human rose slowly, his calm never faltering. He looked directly at the beast. "You want to test it again?" he said softly. The cat hissed. The hiss was sharp, simple, but it cut deeper than any blade. The monster flinched, its body twisted away. It pressed itself against the wall of the arena, shrinking, caged not by stone but by fear. The reaction was undeniable. The crowd saw it. The galaxy saw it. And for the first time in the arena's history, the monster looked small. The announcer shouted, his voice breaking with awe. The beast retreats. It cannot fight. The earth creature dominates it. Never before, never in history, has such a sight been seen. The roar of the audience became a storm. Some wept, some prayed, some clawed at the walls, desperate to leave before their world shifted further. The word cat thundered again and again, the syllables now a chant rising into the skies. The nobles saw it too. Some tried to flee, realizing they had unleashed something they could not contain. Others stood tall, trying to claim credit, to shout that they had brought humanity into the arena for this very moment. But the truth was clear. They had no control. The council representatives leaned forward, their eyes cold and calculating. For them, this was not sport. This was strategy. Humanity had shown its teeth, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The human looked up, meeting the crowd's eyes. His voice carried across the madness. Calm as ever. "You wanted a show. You got one. But remember this, it wasn't a fight. It was a lesson." He stroked the cat once more. Its purr rumbled, steady and calm, the sound of quiet victory. The monster, broken and trembling, slid down against the wall, unable to rise. Its claws dug into the stone, but not in strength, in desperation. Its legend had ended. Its throne of fear had shattered. And in its place, something new was born. Not the legend of a beast. The legend of a human and a cat. The arena was broken, not in stone or steel, though cracks did line the ancient walls. It was broken in spirit, in meaning. For centuries it had been a shrine of blood, a theater of fear. The monster had ruled it as a god rules a temple. Now the god sat in the dust, defeated not by claws or cannons, but by silence by a purr. The monster's chest rose and fell, heaving with exhaustion. Its head hung low. Its eyes, once filled with endless fury, now flicked nervously toward the small creature seated in the sand. The cat's fur glistened in the sunlight as it calmly licked one paw, as if nothing in the galaxy was worth its full attention. The human stood at its side, one hand resting gently on the cat's back. His gaze moved across the crowd, a calm storm behind his eyes. 847, he said, his voice steady, carrying even without the announcer's booming systems. That's how many fell before this beast. Warriors, champions, legends. Each one fought with honor. Each one died screaming. And now, he gestured at the monster, slumped against the wall, trembling like a child. It kneels before something you never imagined a threat. The silence that followed was unbearable. The crowd was not simply quiet. They were holding their breath, as if the galaxy itself leaned forward to hear. The announcer, normally drunk on his own voice, whispered into his mic, unable to contain himself. The human speaks, and none dare stop him. The nobles did not like it. They hissed in their jeweled seats, their claws twitching, their eyes burning with fury. This is heresy, one snarled. Shut him down. Another pointed at the cat, spittle flying from his mouth. It's not power, it's sorcery. A trick. But none dared step into the arena, not while the monster crouched in fear of that small, furry shadow. The human's eyes swept upward, toward the grand balcony where the galactic council sat. Their robes shimmered like liquid stars, their faces half hidden in the glow of authority. For centuries, they had watched and judged untouchable. But now, he spoke to them directly. You watched, you laughed, you bet on lives. You called this strength, but you were wrong. The words were sharp as blades. The council did not flinch, but whispers rippled among them like storm winds. Strength, the human continued, is not the roar of a monster or the scream of a dying warrior. Strength is not size or armor or even fear. He lifted the cat into his arms. It did not resist, only draped itself lazily across him, its green eyes cutting to the dust and sunlight. Strength, he said, is control, quiet, patience, the ability to break fear itself. The crowd erupted again, not in laughter this time, but in voices rising like a storm. Some cheered, swept away by the fire of his words. Others screamed in terror, afraid of what it meant. Still others shouted in protest, clinging to the old ways. But no matter the reaction, one thing was clear. No one looked at the arena monster as a god anymore. Its reign was over. The nobles saw it. Their riches and power had been built on the spectacle, and now the spectacle was broken. Some shouted for soldiers. Seize the human. Kill the beast. Kill them both before the lie spreads. But the soldiers hesitated. Their hands gripped their weapons. Their eyes darted nervously toward the cat. No order could push them forward. Not after what they had seen. The council moved next. Their leader, a towering being of golden skin and silver eyes, stood slowly. The arena fell into silence at once. Even the cat paused its grooming, its ears twitching. The leader's voice was deep, carrying the weight of centuries. Human, he said, your kind is young in the stars, weak, fragile, and yet today you've done what none could. You've broken the beast. You've broken the arena. His gaze hardened. Tell us, was this chance? Or are all of your kind like you? The human did not look away. He let the question hang in the dust-filled air. He stroked the cat once, and only then did he answer. We are all like this, he said. The words fell like thunder. The crowd screamed, not in unison, never in unison, but in 1,000 different directions at once. Some cheered, desperate to believe it. Others cursed, terrified. Some began chanting the word human. Others chanted cat. The council leader's eyes narrowed. Then hear me, human. You have changed the stars today. For better or worse, You have changed them. The nobles hissed and spat. Lies! Tricks! End them before it spreads. But it was too late. The legend was already spreading. Every alien in the arena would return home with stories. Every witness would whisper the same tale. The beast that bowed, the cat that ruled, the human who stood unafraid. The myth of the arena monster was dead. The myth of humanity was born. The human turned. His voice no longer aimed at the rulers or the nobles, but at the ordinary beings pressed into stands. Remember this, he said. We didn't win with claws. We didn't win with blades. We won with something smaller. Something you thought was nothing. So next time you look at us, at humans, remember what you saw today. Remember the cat. The cat meowed, a small sound, almost lost in the roar of the arena, but somehow it carried. Somehow every soul heard it. The monster let out one last broken roar. Not a challenge, not fury, a cry of surrender. Its head lowered to the sand. It did not rise again. The human bowed his head once, not to the nobles, not to the council, not even to the monster. He bowed to the crowd. Then he turned and walked toward the gates. The cat nestled calmly in his arms. The gates opened. Sunlight blazed beyond them. Step by step, he left the arena, and with each step, the old world crumbled behind him. The legend of fear was gone. The legend of humanity had begun.